Okay, so for this video, what we're going to look at is how to solve trigonometric functions. And you already know how to do most of this stuff because you've used your graphing calculator. So for the first one we're going to do, we're going to look at solving cosine of x equals negative 0.2. To solve negative or to solve cosine of x equals negative 0.2, what you need to do is you need to use your graphing calculator. So you put in the cosine of x and you put in, I believe it was negative 0.2. So let's put in negative 0.2. So put in negative 0.2 and then you hit graph. So when you do that, you're looking at this negative 0.2. It looks like it crosses in two spots because my window is from 0 to 2 pi. So I can calculate these two spots by going to second intersection. So second calc intersect. And then here you want to move to the closest intersection you got right there. And then I hit enter, then I hit enter, then I hit enter again. And I get 1.77. And to get the other one, I do the same thing again. Second calc intersect, and it says select first curve, so I move over here because if not, I'm going to get the wrong intersection. So here I'm going to go right here, and then I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to hit enter again, and then boom, and I get 4.511. Now, is that all of my answers? Is that every single answer that I have? Well, no, it's not every single answer I have because I have to remember that cosine function keeps going forever and forever and forever and forever. So, but what I probably want to do, I could give those two answers, but I'm going to change my window now because I'm not thinking about 0 to 2 pi. I want to think about the inverse. So what I want to do is I actually want to go and hit window. And instead of going from 0 to 2 pi, I'm going to go from negative pi to pi. Because then that covers me for my arc sine and my arc cosine and all that good stuff. So that covers me. So I want to be in the same window that I'm allowed to be with the other guys. So now if I hit graph, now I still have two answers. I have this one right here and I have that one right there, the first answer that we found. And if you look, what I do know about cosine is that they're symmetric, so this one's also the negative of it. So what are my two answers? Well, my two answers are going to be my two answers are going to be x equals my two answers are going to be x equals 1.77 plus, and then I'm going to go ahead and do plus 2k pi, and then I'm also going to do the negative one because it's symmetric. 1 plus negative 177 plus 2k pi. So then that opens it up. I know it sounds kind of weird because, well, we went from 0 to 2 pi before, but that's just how it goes. Okay. This one, solve the sine of x equals negative 0.33. So for this one, I'm still going to look at my window is going to be from negative pi to pi. So I'm going to plug that in my calculator. I'm going to plug in the sine of x. I'm going to plug in the sine of x. So I'm putting the sine of x. And it is equal to negative 0.33. So I'm going to put in negative 0.33. So negative 0.33. And I'm going to look at my two intersections here. And my graph. So now when I look at this, here's my sine curve, and then here's my negative 0.33, and I have two locations. And I got to find these two locations by doing second calc. I'm going to go calculate the intersection, and I'm going to move over this way a little bit, I'm going to get this guy right here. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to hit enter, and I get the intersection of negative 0.336. So I got 1 at negative 0.336. I'm going to go plus 2k pi on that one, right? Because its sign's got a period of 2k pi, or 2 pi. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to go second, calculate, and I'm going to go intersection again. And this time I'm going to move over and get the other guy. It's not going to be the negative of it. It's going to be a little bit more than that. So let's see, we're going to go over a little bit. And with this, decimals would be so much better. But you know what? Using the calculator, using the decimals, it doesn't make a difference as long as you get the answer. The other answer is negative 2.81. So negative 2.81. The other answer is x equals negative 2.81 plus 2k pi. Does that make sense? Seems pretty simple. Let's check it out, some more stuff. So if we want to solve 3 cosine x plus 1, yes, you can totally 100% use the graphing calculator to do it, but I don't want to do that. I can, but I like to use a little bit of algebra. So if I'm going to be handy, I'm going to go 3 cosine x plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 1. So now I got 3 cosine x equals negative 1. Divide by 3. So I got cosine of x is equal to negative 1/3. So now this I can try to figure it out by looking at the arc cosine. All right. So what I can do is I can punch in the arc cosine of negative 1/3 and get the answer, but I could also graph this. So if I graph it, I graph the cosine. So I hit y equals, and I graph cosine of x, and I get negative 1/3, negative 1 divided by 3, and then I hit graph, and then here's my curve, and here's my two spots. Well, I only need to find one of them because it's symmetrical, and that's the cool thing about the cosine. So I'll go second calc, and I'll go to calculate the intersection, and I'll come over here. I'll go to the negative one because I know the negative one and the positive one are good to go. So enter, enter, boom. And I get negative 1.91063. So negative 1.9 and positive 1.9. So x is equal to negative 1.9 plus 2k pi and positive 1.9 plus 2k pi. Now I wonder if I would have just did the arc, cosine of x, the arc cosine of negative 1/3. Let's see what I would have gotten. So if I did that instead and just got out of this calculator and went the arc cosine of negative 1/3, let's see what it would have given me. Whoops, that's not negative 1/3. It would have given me 1.91. It would not have given me the negative one, but we know that it's symmetric, so we're good to go. You can totally 100% do that. Okay? This one's a little different. See the word exactly? The word exactly means, hey, you cannot use the graphing calculator. So the sine of x equals 1/2 exactly. Well, to undo the sine of x equals 1/2 exactly, what you got to do is you got to think, okay, I'm going to say that the arc sine of a half. In other words, where on my unit circle is the sine equal to 1/2? Where is the sine equal to 1/2? Well, there are two locations. One of them is at pi over 6, and the other one is at 5 pi over 6. But since sine has a period of 2 pi, I'm going to go 2k pi, and this guy's going to be plus 2k pi, if that makes sense. Okay, so you want to be mindful of that because it says exactly. Moving on to the next thing. Solve 2 cosine 3t minus 1 equals 0. Ooh, this one's sneaky. There's some sneaky stuff about this one because what makes this one sneaky is the one is the fact that it has a 3 the fact that it has the 3t there. So I'm going to just be real sneaky and do 2 cosine, I'll call that u, minus 1 equals 0. So now I go ahead and do add 1. So I get cosine u equals 1. And then I divide. So I don't know why I put that c there. So then I divide. So I got cosine u equals 1/2. So the arc cosine of a half, where on my unit circle is the arc cosine equal to a half. Okay, so one place I know for a fact is pi over 3. And since it's pi over 3 is equal to pi over 3, then it's inverse. So we got u is equal to pi over 3 plus 2k pi, and u is equal to negative pi over 3 plus 2k pi. But we're not done. We replaced u with 3. So this is 3x equals pi over 3 plus 2k pi, and 3x equals negative pi over 3 plus 2k pi. Now if I want to solve this, I actually have to divide both sides by 3. So pi over 3 divided by 3 plus 2k pi divided by 3, and then we know that's going to be the opposite. So this is, or the inverse, so, or negative. X equals, I guess that's going to be pi over 9 plus 2k pi over 3, and the other answer is negative pi over 9 plus 2k pi over 3, and that covers it. What makes it goofy is this part right here. Okay, that's what makes it goofy, but we're not going to worry about that. All right, this one, find all solutions of 2 sine squared x minus sine x minus 1 equals 0 on the interval of 0 to 2 pi. That is actually a pretty good problem because you have to be mindful of something. Two things you got to be mindful of. One, this guy. That means you're looking at the solutions from 0 to 2 pi, one full cycle that we're used to doing. So for this one, what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to break this up into another video. And so there'll be a part 2 for this coming up real soon, because I think 12 minutes and 55 seconds is a bit too much for us to handle. So I look forward to seeing you in class, and may the force